48 years old, and Consuelo had never once in her life bought herself a plane ticket. Not because she was afraid of flying, because there had never been a single month in 26 years of working where she looked at her bank account and saw a number that belonged to her. Every number she had ever earned had belonged to something else before she could close her hand around it. The rent, the utilities, her son's school fees, her sister's emergency, her mother's medication, the car that needed a repair she couldn't afford to put off. 26 years of work, not one plane ticket. And I want you to sit with that for a moment, because I know that a lot of you know exactly what that feels like. Not the plane ticket specifically, the thing behind the plane ticket. That one thing you have been telling yourself you will do, you will have, you will finally get to, when things settle down, when the kids are older, when the bills are smaller, when there is more room, and the room never comes, because you keep filling it before it can open. Consuelo had been filling the room for 26 years. But 5 months before she turned 49, she did something. Something so small it sounds almost embarrassing to say out loud. $5 a day. That is the whole secret. $5 every single day. And what happened at the end of those 5 months, what she had standing on the other side of that decision, is something I need to tell you today, because it was not what you think. It was not just a number in an account. It was something she had stopped believing was possible for a woman like her. Stay with me, because I promise you, by the end of this story, you are going to want to open your own drawer and look at whatever it is you have been keeping in there, waiting. Consuelo Vega worked the register at a grocery store in a small city in Central California. 12 years at the same store. She knew every regular customer by name. She knew which ones needed a moment at the card reader because their hands shook now, and she always found something to say to them in that moment. Something about the weather or the mangoes being good this week. Something that gave them time without making them feel slow. That was a skill nobody had taught her and nobody had ever thanked her for. She worked 5 days a week, sometimes 6, when someone called out sick and the manager, who knew she would say yes, called her. She always said yes. She told herself it was the overtime, and it was, but it was also something older than that, the habit of being needed, the way being needed felt like being worth something. She lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with her son, Marcus, who was 22 and working part-time and taking classes and trying, genuinely trying, in the way of young people who are carrying things nobody their age should carry yet. She did not resent him, but she was tired in a way that had nothing to do with hours slept. She owned 3 pairs of work shoes, all black, all the same style, because the store required closed-toe black shoes, and she had learned years ago that buying 3 identical pairs and rotating them made each pair last almost twice as long. She had developed this system herself, quietly, the way she developed most of her systems, out of necessity, without applause. The right thumbnail on her left hand was slightly discolored from a register door she had caught it in 3 years ago. The nail had grown back wrong, a little ridged, a little darker than the rest. She kept it polished the same color as the others. Nobody ever noticed but her. In the back of her closet, behind the extra blankets she kept folded on the shelf, there was a manila envelope. On the front of the envelope, in her handwriting, one word, someday. Inside the envelope, a printed photograph, folded twice, a photograph of the coast of Puerto Rico, where her grandmother had been born. Consuelo had never been. She had printed the photograph from a library computer 7 years ago, intending to frame it, and then she had not framed it, because framing it felt like admitting she was going to wait forever, and putting it in the envelope felt like keeping it possible without having to look at it every day and feel the distance. The envelope had been in that closet for 7 years. Someday. Loss came in two parts, which is the cruelest way loss comes, because the first part almost feels manageable, and then the second part arrives before you have recovered from the first. First part, Marcus lost his part-time job. The restaurant he worked at closed without warning on a Thursday night, a notice on the door, no final paycheck issued. He was owed $480. He never saw it. Consuelo made calls. She sent emails. The owner had filed for bankruptcy, and the wages went into a process that would take months and might never resolve. $480. Marcus stopped paying his portion of the rent. He couldn't. He was looking for work. Consuelo covered it. Second part came 6 weeks later. Her hours at the store were cut, not because she had done anything wrong. The store had brought in a new automated system for 2 of the checkout lanes, and the math on staff hours had been recalculated. Her 5 days became 4, her 4 sometimes became 3.5. Her paycheck went from $1,140 every 2 weeks to $860, sometimes less. She did not tell Marcus. She did not tell her sister. She sat in her car in the store parking lot after her shift on the first day. She saw the new schedule posted, and she did not cry. She had moved past the kind of tired that cries. She sat and she thought, with the flat clarity of someone who has been here before, I have to figure this out. She went home. She had dinner with Marcus. She washed the dishes. She waited until he went to his room, and then she went to hers. She stood in front of the closet. She opened it. She moved the blankets. She took out the manila envelope that said someday, and she opened it, and she looked at the photograph of the coast of Puerto Rico, the blue water, the green hills, her grandmother's island, 7 years in a closet, and it still looked exactly the same. She stood there for a long time holding it. Then she did something she had not planned. She took the photograph to the kitchen, and she taped it to the inside of the cabinet above the coffee maker. The cabinet she opened every single morning, where she would see it every day. He didn't know why she did it. It felt like a declaration of something she couldn't name yet. She went back to bed. That was a Tuesday in September. On Wednesday morning, she opened the cabinet and saw the photograph and felt a small, sharp thing move through her chest. Not sadness, not quite hope either. Something between the two. The thing that lives in the gap between what is and what you still refuse to stop wanting. She made her coffee. She went to work. And she told herself on the drive in, something has to change. Not everything, just something, starting small, starting today. It was a Saturday in late September, and Consuelo was at the farmer's market 2 blocks from her apartment, not to buy anything expensive, buy tomatoes, which were cheaper there than at the store when you knew which vendor to go to, and because sometimes walking through a place where things were growing and people were moving helped her breathe in a way the apartment did not. She was waiting at the tomato stand when she noticed the woman beside her. Old, maybe 78, maybe more, the kind of age that settles into a person the way good wood settles, dense and smooth. She was wearing a house dress, yellow with small white buttons, and she had a canvas shopping bag over each arm, both of them already heavy with produce. She was examining a tomato with the focused attention of a jeweler examining a stone. She set it down. She picked up another. She set that one down too. She said, without looking at Consuelo, you have to feel the weight, not just look at it. Consuelo said, the tomato. The woman looked at her then. She had the kind of eyes that look at you the way you wish more people would, directly and without judgment. Everything, the woman said. She placed the tomato she was holding into her bag with the gentle certainty of a decision made. Most people look at what they want from a distance. They never pick it up, never feel how much it weighs, how real it is, how close. She said it quietly, as if she were finishing a thought that had begun a long time ago. Consuelo stood there. The The woman paid for her tomatoes. She shifted the canvas bags on her arms. She looked at Consuelo once more and she said, simply, whatever you are waiting to hold, pick it up. Just start holding it. Then she walked away into the crowd of Saturday morning. Consuelo stood at the tomato stand for a moment after she left. She bought her tomatoes. She walked home slowly. She thought about the photograph on the inside of the cabinet, the one she had moved from the envelope to the door, that she opened every morning. She had already started holding it. She just hadn't realized that was what she was doing. When she got home, she sat at the kitchen table and she opened the cabinet and looked at the photograph and she said to herself, out loud, quietly, whatever you are waiting to hold, pick it up. Just start holding it. She got out a piece of paper. She wrote the number 5 on it. $5 every day. She folded the paper and put it in her pocket. She went to work on Monday with a new plan and no audience and no guarantees and $5 in a purpose she had given herself on a Saturday at a farmer's market because of a woman she would probably never see again. Here is what happened when Consuelo started putting $5 away every day, and here is what she learned, not from advice, but from doing it. The first thing she learned was that $5 a day is not a small amount. It is $150 a month. It is $750 in 5 months. Consuelo had never once had $750 that belonged only to her. She had $750, but it had never belonged only to her. It had always been earmarked, spoken for, already promised to something before it arrived. The $5 a day was unspoken. It had no name on it but hers. She kept it in cash, in a jar in the kitchen cabinet, right next to the photograph on the inside of the door. Every morning when she opened the cabinet to get her coffee, she saw both the island she was going toward and the small accumulation of what was getting her there. It was the most powerful thing she had done in years, and it cost nothing but attention. The second thing she learned was harder. In the 4th week, her sister called with a situation. Not an emergency exactly, but the kind of situation that in Consuelo's family had always been treated like one. The kind where everyone looked to Consuelo because she was the one who figured things out. Her sister needed $200 to avoid a late fee on a bill that had grown into something larger than it should have been. $200. Consuelo had $140 in the jar. She said no. Not unkindly, not with the lecture. She said, I can't right now. I'm working on something. Her sister was quiet for a moment and then said, working on what? And Consuelo said, something for me. And her sister said nothing for a beat and then said, okay. And that was the end of it. Consuelo sat on the edge of her bed after she hung up and felt the guilt sit on her chest like a physical weight, and she let it sit there, and she did not move the money from the jar. That was the first time in her adult life she had said no to someone in her family who needed something for herself. It was also the hardest thing in this entire story. The third thing she learned was about pace. She had started in September. By November, $450 were in the jar. She was on track. And then the car needed a brake job. $790. She did not have it all. She used $320 from the jar, which left her with $130. And she had to start over from there. She wanted to stop. Not from laziness. From the exhaustion of starting over, which is different from the exhaustion of continuing. Starting over is a specific kind of tired. She opened the cabinet, she looked at the photograph. She reached into the jar and held the $130 in her hand, feeling the weight of it, all those small bills, the 5s and 1s and occasional 10s. She thought, whatever you are waiting to hold, pick it up. She was holding it. She was already holding it. Put the money back in the jar. She closed the cabinet. She went to bed. The next morning, she put $5 more in. Fourth thing she learned was about visibility. She had taped the photograph to the inside of the cabinet, which meant she was the only one who saw it. Marcus never opened that cabinet. Nobody who came to the apartment opened that cabinet. It was hers alone, and over 5 months, looking at it, every single morning, it changed from a photograph of a place to a photograph of a promise. A promise she was making herself day by day, $5 at a time. There is a difference between a dream you keep in an envelope in the back of a closet and a dream you look at every morning over your coffee. One is preserved, the other is alive. Fifth thing, and this is the one that surprised her most, was what happened to her body. She started sleeping better, not because the money solved anything, because she had stopped being in a completely passive relationship with her own future. She was doing something, small, yes, but directed, intentional. She had a name. And having a name, even a modest one, even $5 a day toward a plane ticket, changed the quality of her rest in a way she could not fully explain and did not need to explain. The sixth thing, the one that closed the loop I opened for you at the very beginning of this story, the thing she had that nobody thought was possible for a woman like her at the end of 5 months. $750. Almost exactly, $745 in the jar next to the photograph. She bought the ticket on a Tuesday evening at the kitchen table with Marcus sitting across from her eating dinner, and she didn't tell him what she was doing until the confirmation email came through. She turned the laptop around and showed him. He looked at the screen. He looked at her. He said, "Mama, you're going to Puerto Rico." She said, "I'm going to Puerto Rico." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Grandma's land." She said, "Grandma's island." And that was all. But his face, in that moment, was something she is going to keep for the rest of her life. She had never bought herself a plane ticket until that Tuesday. At 48 years old, with $745, she had built from $5 a day, one small bill at a time, for 149 days. He left for Puerto Rico on a Friday morning in February. 4 days, she had arranged for Marcus to be home. She had arranged her shifts. She had done all the arranging that a woman does when she is trying to do something for herself without the whole structure falling. She packed one carry-on bag. She had never packed a carry-on bag for herself before because she had never gone anywhere that required one. She stood at the airport security line with her boarding pass on her phone and felt something she had not felt since she was a girl, pure, uncomplicated anticipation. Not the anticipation of waiting for a bill to arrive or a call to return. The anticipation of going towards something. He landed in the afternoon. She took a bus to a guest house that cost $62 a night, which she had also saved for separately. Over the same 5 months, a different jar. She put her bag down in the small clean room, and she sat on the edge of the bed, and she was quiet for a moment. Then she went outside. She walked to the water. She stood at the edge of the sea, and she looked at the color of it, the exact blue she had been looking at on the inside of a kitchen cabinet every morning for 5 months, and she felt something move through her that she could not have described to anyone who had not been where she had been in that particular long exhaustion of giving everything and keeping nothing. It was not relief. It was not joy exactly. It was arrival, the specific feeling of standing in a place your body had never been but some deeper part of you recognized anyway. She called no one from the beach. She just stood there for a long time, in the wind, with the sound of the water. She came home on Monday evening. Marcus had made dinner. He had cleaned the apartment. He had, without being asked, done every small thing he could think of to show her that he understood what she had done, even though she had never fully explained it. She went back to work on Tuesday. The automated checkout lanes were still there. Her hours were the same. Everything was the same, and nothing was the same, in the way that always happens when something shifts inside a person and the outside world has not yet caught up. Her coworker Denise said, "You look different." Consuelo said, "I went somewhere." Denise said, "Where?" Consuelo smiled and said, "Somewhere I should have gone a long time ago." She started a new jar that evening. She did not put a label on this one. She hadn't decided yet where it was going, but she put $5 in it and set it on the counter. That was enough for now. It was a Tuesday afternoon in April, and Consuelo was at the farmer's market again. He went most Saturdays now, but this was a Tuesday, and she had come after her shift, still in her work uniform, because she wanted tomatoes, and she had learned from a woman in a yellow house dress that sometimes you need to be somewhere things are growing. She saw the woman at the edge of the market near the flowers. She was young, younger than Consuelo had expected to feel anything toward, maybe 36, 37, wearing scrubs from a hospital Consuelo didn't recognize, holding a bunch of sunflowers and looking at them with an expression Consuelo knew well. Not admiring them, calculating whether she could justify them. The woman put the sunflowers back. Consuelo watched her do it. She walked over. She stood next to the woman, and she picked up the same bunch of sunflowers, and she handed them to her. The woman looked startled. "Oh, I know, you don't have to." Consuelo said, "I know I want to." She paid for them. She handed them back. The woman held them awkwardly. She looked like she might cry, which is what happens when you haven't been given something in a long time and someone gives you something. Consuelo said, "Can I tell you something?" The woman nodded. Consuelo said, "I had a photograph in an envelope in the back of a closet for 7 years. 7 years. And then I took it out and I put it somewhere I could see it every morning. And 5 months later I was standing where that photograph was taken." The woman looked at her. Consuelo said, $5 a day, that's how. Not because $5 a day is a lot. Because $5 a day is something you do every day for yourself that nobody can take from you before you put it in. She paused. Whatever you are waiting to hold, pick it up, even if it is small, even if it is just a photograph, even if it is $5, pick it up and start holding it. The woman held the sunflowers more firmly now. She said, quietly, "How do you start?" Consuelo said, "You already started. You picked up the flowers and put them back. Next time, don't put them back. That's the beginning." She bought her tomatoes. She said goodbye. Walking back to her car, she thought of the woman in the yellow house dress who had said something at a tomato stand to a stranger who needed to hear it. She thought about how that woman could not have known what she was planting. How you never know what you are planting when you speak truthfully to someone who is listening. At home that evening, she opened the cabinet. The photograph was still there. She looked at it for a moment, the blue water, the green hills, the island she had stood on, the island that was now a memory and not just a photograph. She thought about taking it down, since she had been there now, since the someday had become a day that had already happened. She left it up, because the next someday was already forming, and she needed to be able to look at it every morning. The new jar on the counter had 17 days of $5 in it. $85, steady and patient, waiting to become whatever she decided to reach for next. I want you to think about that envelope, the one that said someday. 7 years in the back of a closet, not because Consuelo didn't want to go, not because she was careless or undeserving or somehow different from the women who do get to go, because she had put everyone else's name on every dollar before she could put her own name on any of them. And I want to ask you something honestly. What is in your envelope? What is the thing you have been keeping in the back of something, wrapped up, folded up, labeled someday, telling yourself you'll get to it when there's room? What is the photograph you haven't let yourself look at every morning, because looking at it hurts more than not looking? Because maybe it is time to move it out of the closet. Maybe it is time to tape it somewhere you can see it. Maybe it is time to feel the weight of it in your hands instead of keeping it flat and folded and preserved for a future you keep not arriving at. $5 a day. $150 a month. $750 in 5 months. A plane ticket to the island your grandmother was born on, bought by a woman who had never once in her life bought herself a plane ticket because she picked it up and started holding it $5 at a time. Come down to the comments right now and write day 1, and then tell me one thing you are going to do today just for you, not for your son, not for your sister, not for the person who needs you to say yes one more time. For you, something small, something you have been putting back on the shelf. I want to read every single one. If this story found you today, if you felt something shift while you were listening, please share this with a woman who has an envelope in the back of her closet. A friend, a co-worker, a sister, your mother. You do not need to say anything when you send it. She will understand from the first sentence. Stayed until the end. That is not an accident. I will see you here next time.